So, hi guys, my name is Daria Krasnova. I'm a senior editor at BeinCrypto. We're one of the largest Web3 medias in the world, covering all things crypto in like 20 languages, I believe, at the moment. So today I have 4 amazing speakers who are going to discuss the hurdles and challenges of RWA space. And before we start, of course, I want them to introduce themselves briefly. So, let's go.
Hi, my name is Hao Juin. I'm the CEO and founder at Chateau.
Can you please explain a bit to our audience what you're building, how long are you in space? And
Chateau is a DeFi protocol. We engineer access to blue chip private assets like OpenAI, SpaceX, Anduril, Anthropic, and hedge funds. We're partnered with Wall Street funds. We are focused on pre-IPOs and funds at the moment. Our first MVP was on Arbitrum, but we're looking for different chains to deploy on. And yeah, we closed a round recently led by Hack VC. So lots of things happening, and we want to ship as soon as possible.
Cool, congrats for the round. Yeah, guys, please take the same approach since not everyone is super cool with RWA. So if you can explain like the 10, please do it.
Sure. So hi everyone, pleasure to be a part of this amazing session. My name is Arajit and I'm the group CTO for Diamante Blockchain Holdings. It's a Delaware-based entity and we do have our presence in Abu Dhabi, Singapore, Switzerland and India. So I hold close to 16 years of an experience with a blended like forte on investment banking as well as in the tech. So as a company, we majorly on the products and the services piece, majorly on the Web3 side. And we have our own blockchain network, L1 network that's called Diamante blockchain. We will be obviously showcasing that more in details. So it's more of like a hybrid network, right? And it's been like 6 years. The network has been live on the mainnet and has been more onto the permission channel. So at this point of time, I majorly look onto the innovations and the products and services for the network company.
Thank you. John, your turn.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Great to be here in Turkey. So I'm John, otherwise known as JP, JPM, not to be confused with JP Morgan, but great initials. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mantra. We're building the layer 1 for real-world asset tokenization, built on the Cosmos SDK. Mantra's been around for about 4 years. We're actually celebrating our 4th TGE anniversary this Friday. So our token is OM, which is the first mantra. It trades on Binance. It actually has a TRY pair as well, which is one of the reasons we're very interested in this market. Yeah, so we're building real-world asset blockchain in the Cosmos SDK. We have a number of different interesting use cases that we'll unpack today in the panel, from real estate, private credit and private equity, content and IP, you name it, we'll tokenize it. We're also in the process of getting some licensing in Dubai with VARA, the regulator there. We're venture-backed. We've raised well over $50 million this year. We're in the top 100 on CoinMarketCap, so check us out.
Cool, thanks. And we have the only one local in this panel. Please, Selim, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here again. But then again, I'm always in town anyway. My name is Selim Kender, and I head the business development ecosystem growth for the Avalanche network. For Ava Labs on the Avalanche network. For those of you who don't know, Ava Labs is the primary technological driving force behind the Avalanche Layer 1 network.
Cool, thanks. So let's warm up a bit and start from a very, very easy question. Where are we now? I mean, not in Istanbul, not in this beautiful building, but in RWA state of things. So are we in the very beginning or we're somewhere on the midway? We are very early. What are your thoughts on that? So please, Hao, you start.
I think we passed the beginning. We're in like the first quarter. Everyone's talking about BlackRock putting treasuries on chain. I think treasuries are the most boring asset on earth, but great. They have, a couple $100 million in securitized. You have all these different treasury-related reverse repo, etc. protocols on-chain, different protocols, Maple Finance, Ondo, Centrifuge, a lot of credit products, right? So that's proven, that's a multi-billion-dollar market. It's been going on for a few years now, and I think we're at the point where we're seeing more and more variety when it comes to asset classes. I mean, yield is nice, but I want exposure to something exciting. I want Anthropic, I want SpaceX, I want OpenAI, and that's where we're focused, that's what we're doing. And I think it's a big differentiator between what Chateau brings on-chain and versus all the other yield-bearing, yield-related products. Not to shit on them, but we're interested in different things. And I think the opportunity here is really replacing TradFi infrastructure. Like if you've worked in finance, if you've worked with investment banks or closed private equity deals, these things are very slow. You send a PDF to their lawyer, he sends a PDF back, there's a phone call, blah, blah, blah. It takes 2-3 months. Why can't you just trade it like a meme coin? Why can't I buy OpenAI like I buy Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Inu, right? So I think we're at a point where legal regulation is becoming more and more clear in a few jurisdictions, not in the US, definitely not in the US. And we're seeing companies and funds and issuers becoming more and more comfortable with having assets on chain, with investing in assets on chain. And investors are participating. We're seeing billions of dollars flow into that sector. So I think we're at the first inning of RWAs.
I would just maybe add super
the few
quickly.
steps were made already. The few steps were made already.
Yeah.
I think it's important to differentiate between the adoption of institutional asset tokenization and retail asset tokenization, which I think is what Hao was alluding to a little bit. If you look at it from the institutional perspective, I mean, JP Morgan has literally done trillions of dollars of tokenized products on their Onyx permissioned blockchain. So I would argue that product market fit has been achieved for institutional tokenization, at least in that instance. As it pertains to like permissionless open networks and more like this DeFi ecosystem that we're probably a little bit familiar with, I don't think it's really been achieved yet. Yeah, we've tokenized some treasuries, we've tokenized some more boring products. Fully agree with that statement, by the way, Hao. But in terms of actually making this, broadly used, broadly accepted, and broadly adopted, it's not there yet. And I do think we're still quite early, and it's going to take a lot of time. One of the reasons that we have a bit of a strategy that's, in our opinion, bull and bear market proof is that you have the token is the product in the bull market. Our token is the product in the bull market, and in the bear market, it becomes the tokenized products on your ecosystem, which are yield-bearing, boring things that everyone wants to go into when they want safety.
Do you think RWA really needs retail adoption?
Yes.
Why?
Okay, well, I mean, I'll be completely selfish and say that I want it, not that I want it as a founder of a company, I want it for myself and my own personal use. I'm a, middle-class American that can get exposure to basically any financial product under the sun if I wanted to, literally anything. But due to the fact that, I've been in crypto since 2013, the vast majority of my digital net worth is on a blockchain. And, not only because I live in Hong Kong, but just in general, in order for me to actually participate in the stock market, in order for me to actually be able to even buy a house, it's a challenge because they won't give me financing, they won't give me loans, and they won't do it, they won't even, I have to go from my crypto wallet to my exchange to a bank account to a brokerage account. It's like multiple steps, multiple fees, and multiple just headaches that me as relatively well-off American has an issue with, let alone someone in the world who has none of that, and they have no access, but they do have a crypto wallet and they do have a phone and a mobile device. Why shouldn't they have the same opportunity as me?
Yeah, makes sense. Arijit, I have a question for you. You're CDO. The concept is still pretty difficult for retail to understand, and many people just don't get it. So what can we do to bring this adoption closer?
So I really don't guess it's more onto the technical side. It's the awareness that the retail should have, evidently on the asset classes, obvious. if we generally see how the real world assets has performed or like how it has started its inception, institutions has majorly played a key role as like, obviously he just said that JPM has already done $1 trillion of investments through an RWA, tokenization. But for the retail, the understanding on the infrastructure is very less. The scalability is obviously being one of the worrisome issues. Yes, and third is on the security perspective that neither the institutions has been able to crack, nor the governance, not on the side of the compliance. This has never been worked out. So if we really need to get more of like a hold on the RWA side for the retails, I guess we have, as an institution, they have to create more of like seminars or webinars, more of like a platforms to make them clearly attached to the underlying concept of it, and more of a like they need to understand how the yield of the derivatives can be more maturely can be taken forward.
Yeah, thank you.
And just to interrupt,
Yeah.
private blockchains aren't real blockchains. They're databases. They're glorified databases.
Sorry,
I mean, technically all blockchains are databases, to be fair. But.
Exactly. So it's more of a contradiction, I should say. Like, if I just say a private network is a database, decentralized is not, no. The concept for a blockchain is itself as a database. Now, whether you have some sort of a control and you have some sort of a RBACs, like role-based access controls, then we categorize that as a permission network. If it is not, if we generally say, okay, everyone has a common contribution, let's have everyone take a participation, it's a public, maybe, but this never have proven its like a strong hold. We have never seen much of a proper use case been deployed by a decentralized network. Permission networks, they have done phenomenally good. Walmart has done their entire supply chain on Hyperledger Fabric. And Diamante, obviously I will talk about my network. It's a co-layer hybrid network. We do reap the advantage of permission as well as of a decentralized. And I have never seen that blockchain, if we code as like co-coded, it's a database. It's a record maintenance, right? So same for both the sides.
Okay, Selim, can you please share the Evolab stance on RWA at the moment? Like, what's your focus and where are you moving?
Look, I think with respect to real-world asset tokenization, our mantra from the get-go has been tokenize all world's assets. So, and
it's a good mantra.
In the words of our founder and CEO as well, that's generally technology companies are headquartered in or around Silicon Valley. We're headquartered in New York City because that's the capital of finance. So that's, I think, where tokenization, when it's going to go mainstream, that's going to play a huge role in it. Now, things are developing rapidly, and we're seeing a few. One of the most important things is regulation is coming, and regulation is going to be very important. Now, in Turkey, we recently passed a law. We're expecting the secondary regulatory pieces to come in. Same is true for the EU.
Can you please expand on this, because you explained it to me behind the stage, the secondary law.
Well, the law doesn't go into detail, the Turkish law, because we need the secondary, I don't know the English word for it, but the statutes, if you will, if you would, to really dot the I's and cross the T's in a way. But, regulation is good. Is it for real-world asset tokenization? Is it going to be perfect through all jurisdictions? No. But this is a brand new, look, before regulation, real-world asset tokenization was doable, but not really doable, right? With regulation, it will be doable. Will there be problems with regulation? Sure, but I think it's going to be an iterative process because everybody is learning this as we travel through this space. So, I agree with how that, we're past the experimental stage of real-world asset tokenization. It is going to be here. It is going to develop, and it's actually different than crypto. It's not crypto. It's real-world assets benefiting from the technology side of blockchain. So real-world asset tokenization is not crypto. It's blockchain. It's technology. It opens the previously uninvestable asset classes to regular retail customers, whether it's I don't know, a ship, whether it's antique cars, whether it's artwork. There are, numerous examples. So that's going to open up the investor base. But it's really real-world investment. It's not necessarily for the degen crypto investor whose expectation is, all right, I'm going to get this token and quintuple in 5 weeks. No, this will be, if we're tokenizing US bonds, in traditional finance, the yield is, 5%, 4.5% these days. It's going to be the same for the tokenized part as well, but it will be better technology. It will be easier access for investors. So we're very excited about this prospect.
Thank you. Since Selim gave us a few examples, where do you guys see the most exciting opportunities for RWA, and what sector will benefit big from it?
For me, I
Don't
guess...
mention real estate, please.
So I really believe that the first advantage will be reaped by the real estates, because that's always been there. We talk about REITs. They have been the first on the industry to get tokenized. And for the RWA also, I do see there's a much more of attraction that real estates will have. Post of which, I do see financial instruments, like whether you talk about ETFs or commercial papers or CFDs, that do have potential to get into our RWA. The process will get more streamlined. The settlement process will get more easy, and it will get more of easily manageable and maintainable. So these are the two industries that I precisely feel that has a better traction. Post of which, maybe as automobile industry, they as vintage cars, right? Having an auction process getting done through an RWA in an easiest way, maybe that can have some sort of a future. That is my perception.
Thank you. I'll have something to add here.
Yeah, I like tokenized Pokemon cards. I think it's very cool. So anyone who grew up playing Pokemon, you might be a multi-millionaire. Your box of cards might be worth a lot of money. It's very cool.
I actually had a team member ask for their bonus in tokenized Pokemon cards this year. Literally. Yeah. I'm a big Pokemon fan too. If I had to kind of interject a little bit, we kind of see it on three main kind of asset classes that we're exploring that are the low-hanging fruit of where we see the ability to have real adoption that's not just there's a lot of people tokenizing things and just doing it in an SPV. And I kind of think in a lot of instances that that's just faux tokenization in many cases, because you're just using an entity structure to create shares that are then represented in tokenized form. It's kind of a faux way of doing it. If you take something like real estate, which I don't want to talk too much about, but
no, it's not blacklisted, but
it is an important. No, it's an important thing for us. It's the number one asset that we're looking at, and the reason for that is because one, our emphasis on the Middle East and Asia. There's a ton of real estate market there, Dubai particularly. We're working with the largest developers there, so $100 million, multi-billion-dollar deal kind of thing. But you're also working in conjunction with the central government to do actual on-chain title deed transfer. That's a very different thing than faux tokenization, where you're tokenizing the equity ownership of a company that's then represented in tokenized form. That's a different story. And just to show you that it's not that boring, I've actually said this on multiple panels, and including with Morgan from Alpha Labs in DAS London, that we'll be in the next 12 months tokenizing and airdropping a house. I guarantee it.
How do I sign up?
I guarantee it. I will do that. Tokenizing and airdropping an apartment. Watch. So that's cool. The second thing that we're interested in is actually similar to what Hal was saying, fund, private credit, private equity, these type of access plays that retail doesn't get exposure to. Tokenized A16Z fund or KKR. Avalanche has done a great job with some of these very interesting products that have never had retail exposure at mass scale. And then the third one that I think is very exciting is just content IP, and then anything related to just something that brings an emotional draw. whether that's tokenizing something related to your favorite sports club or your favorite musician. One, being able to, and this is, I don't mean like NFTs and like, fan token bullshit, but actually tokenizing something that has real economic value translated back into the token that can give that kind of alignment with the fans, alignment with the community, and then you can codify all these other utility elements into it, whether that's meet and greets and merch and all this other stuff, but actually having real ownership stake in the things that you really love and are passionate about. That's cool.
Yeah, nice. Selim, do you have something to add here to your list?
To the tokenization list?
Yeah.
I think my fellow panelists have covered it all. I mean, I keep hearing about wine collections getting tokenized. So any kind of asset that is closed to retail investor. So, I don't know, $10 million Picasso, there's only a limited number of people who can buy that, right? But, 500 of us come together, we can collectively buy a portion of it and enjoy the yields that, when artwork gets appreciated, we can, and it's also going to be very liquid thanks to technology. It'll probably trade on DEXs and centralized exchanges as well, probably. So it's going to be exciting. I'm hearing like chocolate being tokenized. I mean, the proof of reserves there would be very difficult. If you keep it in my house, I'll probably eat it one night, then it'll disappear. But it's really seems like endless possibilities that will open up to the general consumer to invest in, whereas now it's only kind of under the auspices of a select group of high net worth or ultra high net worth individuals.
So we can clearly see we jump into the new era of new ownership with RWAs.
Probably.
Cool.
I just want to say one thing though. It is critically important when we're talking about creating a token for anything that, because anything can live on chain. I feel like almost everything will live on chain at some point. On chain is the new online. But when we think about actually issuing tokens, having them trade for any sort of public, whether that's institutional or retail, you need to have a value add to that token creation. And if you're just tokenizing something for tokenization's sake, don't do it. It's a waste of time. You need to have marginal and ideally significant improvement to the issuer, to the investor, or to some degree of cost savings when doing it. Otherwise, we're going to be back in 2018, 2019, where everyone was raving about STOs, and we're tokenizing a bunch of shit that didn't sell and had no liquidity and didn't do anything. And that's the market where I've seen things have changed, but I think it also continues to have a similar flavor, just wrapped in a different packaging in certain instances. So we need to get away from that and actually do something that are focused on the quality of the assets, focusing on the ability to bring secondary market liquidity, which is a hard thing. Creating a token does not solve that. And those are the problems that I think the RWA space needs to work on. This is going to take time.
And I'm sure, in addition to John's point, very interesting people will come out of the woodwork. So I think real-world asset tokenization is, if we look at DeFi, it's like asset-backed securities. So proof of reserves is going to be important. Like the Picasso example. I mean, is somebody really accountable for keeping that Picasso maybe on loan at a museum or in a suitable preservation warehouse or wherever they keep them? I mean, there was an old story. There was a big-time Turkish fraudster. This is back in the 40s, 50s. You guys have been in Istanbul enough. You know the Galata Tower. So he used to sell the Galata Tower to people who were around it. The Galata Bridge, he used to sell it, etc., etc. We'll see a lot of those.
So it's the first case of fractional ownership.
Good faith people come out of the woodwork. So it'll still be, a lot of do your own due diligence. It'll be important who's putting their reputations on it's got to be reputable. I don't want to say intermediaries when we're talking about the decentralized space, but there will need to be a need for, the asset will need to be kept somewhere physically. So there will need to be some intermediation in that sense.
Yeah, sure. Again, you're raising a very cool question. It's just not like I need my list anymore. So, since you mentioned the custody for RWA, like security is one of the biggest concerns at the moment in this space. So, how are you guys addressing this concern?
I think the biggest security risk is honestly the investor. In my experience, at least, like everyone here is crypto native, right? You know what a private key is. You know, if some guy messages you on Telegram and says, "Hey, just show me a screenshot of your wallet," you don't do it, right? I think to reach mass adoption, we have to give up self-custody. I think self-custody isn't right for more than 50% of the population. And for DeFi, for crypto, to replace traditional brokerages, to replace traditional banks, there needs to be solutions that are idiot-proof, to put it lightly. and we are seeing solutions like that. Account abstraction, smart wallets, MPC wallets, where you have keys that are, I have one key, the wallet provider has another key, there's a recovery key. Solutions like that, right, where I can build products that my grandma can use, where people with no crypto understanding can use. I think that's the key to security here, because if you really think about it, there's a lot of risk. There's smart contract risk, there's scams, phishing attacks, et cetera, and how do you minimize that? You really can't. The more tech you build, the larger the surface vector of attacks become.
I'll tell you one thing. Since I'm visiting like a lot of conferences, and every event we discuss the same things, like security is still weak. The amount of like hacks is rising every year. So what's the deal here? Why are we still in this stance?
Every time when you talk about some sort of an innovation is happening, you are actually creating multiple doors of breaking that same innovation, right? Let's say we talk about AI, right? You're creating multiple phases of improvement on the encryptions, on the algorithms. You're similarly creating an opportunity to just overcome the same thing that has been created. Quantum has been quite taking a phenomenal changes over the older encryption models. If you just talk about the ECDSA or the RSA, that has been broken multiple times. So we talk about a lattice as an encryption model. So security, yes, that is constantly getting evolved, and you should not have a single set of security protocols on place, right? As like Ho was saying, it's better to have given the individual custody and you create multiple layers of security models, right? It's better to have a set of an infrastructure in mind, a detailed architecture that's been properly governed, compliant, right? Second of all, you should have a proper wallet management system, both online and offline. Becomes easy so that even if there is some sort of a online hack is happening, your part of a passphrase, which is an offline, gets to an extent secured, so you aren't actually creating a restriction. Third, it's better to have a third layer proof, which at least not allow more of like a firewall. We still have been working on that, but I'm pretty much sure that if you have multi-layer firewalls, that can give some sort of a possible safety at this point of a time. I know I can't talk about in the next 5 years what will happen. Maybe better evolution or better security passwords can be the solution. Nothing at this point.
Thank you. John, what's your take here?
I think they covered it generally speaking. I think maybe to just use an example from how we're engaging with regulators and how we've created effectively different compliance-focused modules on our blockchain that are specifically geared for asset tokenization. It's surrounded 3 core modules. You have a decentralized ID, which effectively allows individuals on chain to take their permissionless Web3 self-custodial wallets and interact with the permissionless side of crypto, but then at the same time, if they choose to, they don't have to. If they choose to, they can identify this particular wallet with their real-world identity. It goes through an onboarding process. It's verified, and you effectively get the soul-bound token. That is then used to effectively triangulate, who you are in the real world. So your wallet can triangulate with your bank account, which can triangulate with your brokerage account. So you have this ability to actually move on and off chain a little bit more seamlessly from a more DeFi on-chain experience than we've ever had before. The next part would be like this token service. Effectively, it allows developers and asset issuers to easily create tokens that have different smart contract functions in them. Burn, pause, mint, freeze, seize, etc. And use the example of like, let's say we tokenize a house. I tokenize a house and it's just sitting in my wallet today, but then I go get fished and someone takes my house token. Do I not now own my house? Obviously, you still own your house. So if you can obviously verifiably prove that, you're not going to be out of house and home and be homeless on the street. You'll be able to freeze that token, seize it, bring it back, or reissue if needed. And obviously with a lot of security style tokens, that's just a necessity. And then the third bit for us and how we kind of see the space is that people interacting on chain right now generally are crypto natives. They're generally engaging in DeFi. They see things on a permissionless, from a permissionless viewpoint. But there is added functionalities, added ability to get exposure to different asset classes, and things that are beneficial by being in a permissioned environment. So the ability to kind of cross both is important for us, but at the same time not forcing anyone to choose one or the other, right? You can choose to be in one or the other. And so we've created this guard module which effectively allows anyone to very easily create a very customizable governance framework that allows anyone on-chain to say, or anyone who's building on-chain to say, this is who is allowed to interact with this pool, this asset, this product at any given time, and has the ability and recourse to say, no, you're not allowed to do this anymore if they so choose. We believe regulatory enforcement is applied at the application layer, not the protocol layer, and therefore we've designed the system as such. This allows someone to be able to interact with the crypto native DeFi meme coin speculative element of the space, and then if they so choose, they can come over and interact with a more centralized style experience, but at the same time still maintaining sovereignty of your assets, maintaining custody of your wallet, and interacting in an on-chain way.
Yeah, thank you. We can really talk about security without mentioning regulatory landscape, of course. Unfortunately, it's not like something I really want to discuss. But we have to, guys. So please, Selim already started and he said that regulation is not bad, but what regulatory framework for RWA and tokenized assets looks the best for you? Sorry.
You put me on
you got the good one.
In the industry-defining spot. I don't know what regulatory model is the best for real-world asset tokenization, but I agree that it's probably. Look, first of all, real-world asset tokenization is TradFi coming on chain. So all this, I don't know, utopic thoughts that existed at some point where there won't be any nation states anymore, the world will be one big decentralized party. That's not where we're headed, right? This is, countries will keep being countries and regulation will be there. But in a sense, I think regulation will also increase customer adoption because it will.
Just because people will feel safe.
Well, we're saying it's a trustless industry, but self-custody is not a picnic, right? It's difficult. Self-custody is a pain in the neck. So I think there needs to be choice for people to go one way or the other. Or you as an investor might do self-custody for some assets and then go to a custodial solution for others, so you can have somebody to blame when when something happens to your assets. But it's got to be a mixture, and we also, with custodial. We always say, I haven't been in the industry that long, but the perennial question that I hear is, where is the next billion coming from? If the UI is not getting easier, the next billion is not coming, or we're a long way away from the next billion joining. And custodial solutions actually make it easier for the consumer, for retail, to take advantage or to get the benefits of on-chain solutions. So maybe that will be another facet in making the customer experience better, easier, not as confusing, etc., etc. So
Yeah, let's hope.
that's. I mean, it should be, in an ideal world, if you're, average Joe on the street or Jane, and you're using an application that is on blockchain, you really shouldn't care whether it's on blockchain or not. It's just another technological solution. The important thing is, all right, I want to buy, 1/1000th of a Picasso, or 2% of a transportation ship from, China to Europe, whatever. That's the underlying thing. Whether it's on blockchain or, rock chain or Plymouth Rock, it's not it's not my concern. I shouldn't be, as an everyday, as a regular investor, I shouldn't be expected to be a master of technology to kind of find my way through this. So I don't know what the best regulatory solution for this is. It's kind of above my pay grade, I guess. However, I think these are the important things that will make this proliferate, hopefully, quicker than otherwise.
John, how do you think will the upcoming institutionals that are getting into space, like BlackRock and other big money guys, will change the regulatory landscape, like in US, for example?
I mean, it definitely gives pressure, particularly in the U.S. market. I think, we've seen a willingness where we're looking to be licensed to engage in conversations with builders in the space, whereas I think in the U.S. a lot of the builders don't feel like there's a willingness to actually have a conversation with the regulator. In fact, they're just scared of getting sued, which is a bit of a problem. So if you can create an environment to build safely and also an environment for investors to be protected, I think that's the end goal that everyone wants. Sometimes those are a little bit at odds. Regulators tend to be safe and risk averse, and builders tend to be pushing the edge of the envelope, innovative and a little bit more risk on. So a balance is necessary. Obviously in the US market, particularly institutional adoption, Bitcoin ETF getting approved, these type of things happening, have moved the needle, but at the same time, it's going to come down to what administration's in power, are they pro-crypto? And actually, I think the great thing about all this kind of situation is now it's such a focal point of conversation, in one of the biggest election cycles we've seen in the US market right now, where both candidates are actually having to have a policy about crypto assets and blockchain. And that's like, if you would have told us that this was, a few years back, that the president, elects at B would be debating crypto, no one would probably believe that, right? So it's an amazing step forward, but we still have a long way to go for this to be, a properly built-out framework that has both builders as well as the end users in mind.
How do you guys think can the government itself benefit from allowing trading of tokenized assets?
Well, I think if you really think from first principles, like why regulation, it's just there to protect investors. You want to make sure you're safe. You want to make sure your assets are there. You want to make sure you're not getting scammed. And as a crypto protocol, we have the benefit of choosing which jurisdiction to set up in. And I think we already see it, capital and projects and people are just going to go to where governments have common sense, progressive regulations. We see a huge migration out of the US into Dubai, into Hong Kong. When Gary Gensler started his party, he wants people to forget that he's best friends with SBF. I haven't forgotten. And yeah, I think like Bermuda, for example, is doing a very good job of recognizing tokenized assets and enabling secondary trading. And it's going to get there. It's not going to get there evenly. Assets are, smaller jurisdictions are going to have pro-crypto regulations first, and then the coolest projects are going to start there, and then the lobbyists will will hopefully push things through in bigger countries like the US with big checks. That's how it works.
Distance. We're almost out. Oh, we are out of time. So, anyways, I want to hear Arijit's stance on this question. So, regulations for RWA, good or evil?
Good or evil? Good.
Arajit, what do you think?
I really don't have much of a comments on the regulations or the compliance side. I'm more of a techie guy. But yes, as like what he said, cut a check, more of being friendly to the governments, and if they are having a clear understanding with proper consultants, proper mindsweepers, regulations will obviously play in favor for the institutions if government really wants to take forward. For example, if I just talk about India, they were being very bloomerizer. They don't understand initially the crypto. Now they have started taxing crypto. Maybe now they started talking about CBDC initiatives. So yeah, maybe some point of a time, as a country, India will also start taking a progressive approach towards RWA. Dubai, yes, true. They are taking a big lot of an initiative. The money is there, and they are making money out of it. That's what my view is.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Now we're finally out of time and even get some extra. So thank you for a great panel. It was a nice one.
Thank you.
Thank you.